Welcome to the Carnage Count, the horror channel that you never had until now. And yes, you've read the title, because today I am going to be ranking all of the Friday the 13th movies from worst to best. Like I said in the first video, the horror franchise spawns 12 movies including a crossover with Freddy Krueger and a Platinum Dunes reboot in 2009, and its franchise is well known for its horror icon, Jason Voorhees. I know that according to Rotten Tomatoes rankings, the Friday the 13th series can be a bit mediocre and a ripoff to Halloween, but there are some films that are just too good. Before I begin, these are all my opinions, so if you want to comment on how you rank the Friday films, you can do it if you want to. Okay, enough of the intro, let's begin. Coming in number 12 is gonna be Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. I have so much to rant about this mess. First off, huge points get docked, which is a boat pun, get it? Which isn't automatically a bad thing, but this sewage barrel of a movie just fucking sucks. The kills weren't any good, it has an unreasonable runtime of 100 minutes, and Jason gets splashed with toxic waste and makes a stupid face. It's stupid. Look at it. He looks like a burnt Kermit the Frog. I can't believe that this is the film where they take Jason out of Crystal Lake, thank God, and broke Paramount so hard. I wonder why. I can't believe that Jason just puked and it had little boy Jason coming out of his mouth. What the fuck? Plus a lot of the kills are bad. Oh, so many just shitty. So yeah, Jason Takes Manhattan is a piece of shit that manages to piss me off every time I see something about it. Paramount is a fucking liar when it comes to the movie's name. Jason don't take Manhattan. Jason takes a boat. Good things about this movie? The second movie having Kane Hodder play Jason again. Julius Gaw going ham on Jason before getting his head punched off. The awesome shot of Jason in the middle of Times Square. And a dog who totally survives the entire movie. Nice, good boy. Roll the fucking credits please. I beg of you. Number 11 is gonna be Part 5, A New Beginning. I know some people like this movie, but hear me out. I'm preaching into the choir. I pretty much hated this film. 3 reasons why. A. The obvious, Jason not being the killer. B. Everyone going hard on sex and being nasty, sleazy and dirty. And don't even get me started on Jason's replacement, Roy Burns. That paramedic sucks. His motives basically don't make any sense. It's basically Friday the 13th 1980 all over again. I can't believe that Roy has a chubby fucking son. You know who he is, Joey. I know it's the second film where it has Tommy Jarvis. The kills are just close-ups. None of the kills make up for its new beginning. Bullshit. The fans were really disappointed on this one. They were disappointed because they already knew what happens if people replace Jason Voorhees. Good things about this movie? The deaths of Tina and Eddie, Tommy Jarvis being a fucking WWE psycho, and the wonderful supersonic scream of Reckless Reggie. 10th place is gonna be Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. You know, that so-called Final Friday and still a god-awful movie. I can't believe it isn't ranked lower, but the gore in the trailer kept me from putting it in 12th place. Eating a beating heart like Hannibal Lecter is just fucking nasty. I just want to see a hockey mask killer mutilate some bitch-ass teens, but seeing a cop, a deputy, and a coroner is just an average Wednesday in America. Say what you want about Roy Burns. I hate him too, but at least he dressed up as Jason. Also note that this is the only film that Jason has ever been vocal by grunting while being shot, and it doesn't sit right with me. This is the first movie to have been created by New Line Cinema, don't ask, but the creators of Freddy Krueger exploded the fuck out of Jason. I get that they tried to be different, but man did they blow it. They never made Jason take off his mask and show it to everyone what he looks like behind his mask. I never knew Jason can possess people but with a slug? What the fuck? This is worse than Freddy's baby form in The Dream Child. Good things about this movie? Like I said, the trailer, it had wonderful music in the trailer. The 3 gory kills, the head-bashing kill, Deputy Josh melting, and Deborah Caldwell split in half, and the return of Kane Hodder. I really loved Jason's design in this film when we actually got to see him. Coming in number 9 is gonna be the space entry of Friday the 13th, Jason X. I'm pretty confusing myself because I'm pretty much miserable throughout this ridiculousness that you call movie. I get that Scream revived the horror genre in the 90s, but Friday the 13th blew it again. I know people hate this movie. Like a lot of people hate it, including me. This may be the weirdest horror movie ever. I've never heard stupid names from this film, but the only normal name I heard seen is Samuel Johnson. So yeah, Jason being in space is just ridiculous, and it's just a poorly written sci-fi movie naively filled with cute random humor. Did you really want to watch him kill a bunch of camp counselors again? No, I get that it tries to be different. Good things about this movie? Well, the designs of Uber Jason, KM, and Sergeant Brodsky, the most badass character along W. Tommy Jarvis, the funny characters, scripting, scream-style humor, and the best kill scene of all horrordom. 2 words, liquid nitrogen. Hell yeah, son. Number 8 is Friday the 13th Part 3. 3D, and now we're on the It Was Okay film era. I know it's still stupid, shitty, sexy summer camping teens getting slaughtered and strangled, but it's filled with unnecessary, horrendous 3D shots this time, and they didn't even had to cut some deaths by recuts. This movie was lucky because they never got an X rating, unlike Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and Halloween 5 almost did. I know this is Jason's big premiere to his hockey mask and it has a lot of good kills, but that doesn't make up for it getting rushed, being slow, and Chili doing the worst acting ever in the series. You know what it is. Good things about this movie? Andy getting chopped in half, Jason smiling way too creepy with his mask and begins to run, and the lackadaisical way of Jason walking after killing Vera, like he's just started a long week of work and realizing that it's Wednesday. 7th place is the crossover flick Freddy vs. Jason. For me, this may be a Freddy film and maybe the film with Jason's big body count, but with some of the worst and most superficial characters in the series and in the use of some visual effects that really annoys me, namely the choppy slow motion and the way people take flight whenever they're hit by something. But the thing that brings it back is the solid 20 minutes of screen time we get with Jason and Freddy just beating the shit out of each other. Some might say the gore is over the top here, and I wouldn't disagree, but I like how insanely brutal it got. I mean, we're talking 2 of the most famous icons in horror history. It wouldn't feel right if it were PG-13 levels of gore. Plus, the premise used to pit them against each other is pretty good, but it's just the rest of the movie that is mediocre. Jason afraid of water, get the hell out of here. Good things about this movie? Besides all the times Jason and Freddy fight each other, Will and Mark are pretty cool characters. There are also at least 2 great kills, with Jason killing the emotionally abusive boyfriend Trey by stabbing him to death and having his guts fall out, and snap him with a chiropractic Captain Crunch, and cutting Billy Boy in half by Jason with a machete. Snoochie boochies, brudda. Coming in number 6 is Friday Part 2. Now there are good things that made me awe and a few things that made me upset. I know this is Jason's big premiere, but he is designed the way we don't know him. Besides, it's basically just the original done all over again. Same amount of victims, similar levels of gore, and although Jason's finally arrived, he's not developed at all, so it doesn't feel too much different than the first person killing from the first one. However, there are some things that elevate this movie. First and foremost is Final Girl Ginny, one of the best final girls of the whole series, who fights back at Jason both physically and mentally, using that child psychology she mentioned studying. A couple of other characters are memorable too, like Mark, the guy in the wheelchair who has an incredible death sequence falling backwards down the goddamn Odessa steps, and Vicky, who's super cute and endearing in how forward she is with Mark. Plus, we got Crazy Ralph and Alice returning to provide some nice continuity from the first film. All in all, Part 8 is a nice middle-of-the-road entry in the Friday franchise. Number 5 is the original Friday the 13th. I know a lot of people think you can't do better than the original, but in the case of Friday the 13th, I disagree. Look, I can appreciate this movie's impact on the genre and how it became super popular even with a shoestring budget and an unknown cast, but that doesn't necessarily make it great. For one, it's an admitted clone of Halloween, so don't get on me about it being anything original. Also, there's really nothing to these characters other than their potential to get killed, although I guess Ned is memorable for being such an idiot. I really love Jack's arrow kill and Marcier's axe to the face, and Adrian King lends final girl Alice a strength that really comes out during the final fight. To be entirely fair, this is a really simple movie that knew it was a really simple movie. It set out to be a bloody slasher flick and it succeeded, so that gives it points. Plus, who doesn't love Pamela Voorhees and all those close-ups on her pearly white chompers? Ultimately, I think the original Friday the 13th is the prototypical slasher film, and I mean that entirely, for better or worse. 4th place is Part 7, The New Blood. Again, it's a good bad movie. In the plus column is Kane Hodder as Jason, which is a big deal for the Friday franchise. I know he's not everyone's favorite, but he's probably the actor who cared the most about being the character, and that passion shines through in all the abuse he takes as the man behind the mask. Speaking of which, This is by far the coolest looking Jason. That nasty, gnarly face and the exposed backbone show the extent to which he has become a supernatural being and creates for a memorable standout-looking incarnation. On the opposite end of the spectrum, these characters are so forgettable that they might not have even had any names. The only teen to make an impression is Melissa, who excels as the blonde bitch stereotype character. And of course Tina, who also helps raise this movie to another level. Yeah, she's basically a Carrie ripoff, but it's still awesome watching someone fight back against Jason, especially with something as delightfully silly as telekinetic powers. I mean, she headbutts him with a decapitated head. That's great. But to bring it back down a notch, these are some of the weakest kills in the series, heavily censored from their original versions, and I can't even count the number of times the characters run back and forth into the woods exhausting. Also, don't even get me started on that ending. Mud-faced dead dad is one of the single stupidest moments in all of Friday the 13th history. Coming in number 3 is the 2009 reboot of Friday the 13th. Some people like this movie, I know. Ranking the reboot higher than the original? Blasphemy, I get it. But let me make my case. While the original Friday the 13th tried to be scary with an unknown killer lurking around the edges of the camp, the remake terrifies us by showing an agile powerhouse Jason and the torturous ways he can kill people. It's definitely a matter of taste, but for me, the far more horrifying thing is thinking about being roasted alive over a fire pit, or being left to scream in agony as some sort of bait for my friends. I really dig reboot Jason and the way he runs at people and sets traps for them. It feels more realistic and thus more scary than just a big guy shambling around swinging a machete at people. I will say the characters prevent this movie from being capital G great, and I actually think it goes too far with the nudity, which becomes distracting with how frequent, nasty and extreme it is. But on the other side of the coin you got Lawrence and Chewie doing a great job as comic relief, and the central relationship is one between siblings, which is always great to see. Love you, Janelle. Number 2 for me is the final chapter. I get that people put this in their number 1 spot, but that's okay. I don't blame you. I will admit that this one is very similar to the first 3 Fridays, but for me, it's the perfect distillation of what those movies wanted to be. Check it. You've got Jason in his hockey mask the entire time. Great. He's played by Ted White, who I think everyone can agree is a top 3 Jason actor. And while there's still a horny group of teenagers, they at least include Crispin Glover, who gives us some amazing dance movies in his memorably awkward performance, and even better, they're not really the people we're supposed to care about. Instead we have another awesome sibling relationship in Trish and Tommy Jarvis. Tommy Jarvis is of course the most popular Friday the 13th character outside of Jason Voorhees himself, and Trish is actually really cool too. Watch the way she defends Tommy by busting this TV over Jason's head, or taking Jason's machete and hacking right between his fingers, giving him permanent shocker hand. And with Tom Savini back behind the makeup, the kills are all great. Not only do we get gruesome kills like Glover's cleaver to the face and yes his hilarious corkscrew gag, we also get the coolest off-screen kill and the best defenestration courtesy of the Doublemint twins. To top it all off we get a nasty-looking unmasked Jason who does that wicked face slide down a machete. That being said, the number 1 movie for me is Jason Lives. This movie wins massive points for being the first in the series to strike a different tone. It was still Jason killing teens at a summer camp, but this movie made the decision to have fun with it. They broke the fourth wall, made its characters self-aware of horror movies, and did a whole bunch of silly gags, even if they didn't always work. It brought back Tommy Jarvis and Tom Matthews played him as a likable determined guy, a protagonist we could truly get behind, and matched him up with Megan Garris, one of the most capable final girls in the series. Megan's dad, Sheriff Garris, adds an extra layer of awesome to this movie with his gruff, no bullshit demeanor tempered by a real love for his daughter, even if he did, point a shotgun at her that one time. And although I'm personally a fan of metal, especially Ice Nine Kills, it doesn't detract from cool action sequences like the flaming RV shot. Sure, the kills aren't the best in the series, but Jason Lives is a fully confident and unique entry to the series that stands out among all the others. This movie may just be Jason killing kids around a lake, but it is a perfect version of Jason killing kids around a lake, and that's why it's the number 1 Friday the 13th movie for me. So that's my list. I know you're gonna have opinions told, so hit me up in those comments. Tell me how you rank your Friday films. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel and watch my videos and consider contributing to my YouTube channel. And yes, next time, I'll do the final chapter at some point. Until then, you've been watching The Carnage Count.